You say they should have to retake their test, because currently at 70 you have to reapply, but it's essentially a form, isn't it?
You don't have to declare.
Yourself. So there's no actual test further on.
No test and no medical test. Look, we're talking about the same generation who will quite happily admit to spending half their time at home walking around going, why am I upstairs? Has anyone seen my glasses? I don't think even on that front it's a massive stretch to say maybe we should have another test, just to make sure people are capable on the roads. And the statistics show that the DVLA has seen a 20% rise in people over 70 needing to be referred for extra testing. So there's a question there. Young people are always told that they're snowflakes, right? But it amazes me that as soon as you start saying to someone who's maybe got impaired hearing and impaired vision and has had 3 heart attacks
what
and
did you say?
one knee and claw fingers that maybe they should go for another test. All of a sudden they're up in arthritic arms about it.
Now, you ride a motorbike as well as drive a car, Stanley, don't you? So are you a danger to yourself and others on the roads?
I'm no danger at all, I can tell you. And as for the test, I can read my driving licence at the distance of 20 inches. You know?
That's super small. But it's not unreasonable, though, what Andy's saying there. It's not unreasonable, is it, to suggest that once we get to a certain age where some of the facilities start to deteriorate, that actually, when they are so important on the road, there is a test that's reintroduced?
No, I think it's totally unreasonable. Look at the statistics. We've got 3 million people in this country who are over 80. We've got 500,000 who are over 90. Are you really saying that you want to have all these people have tests and so on? So we've got to get real here. I mean, over 80 is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. People are going to be driving until they're 90.
OK,
100.
so if it's nothing, Stanley, why not say, OK, yeah, I'm quite happy to adhere to having another test just to be sure that my eyesight's OK, I've got the right prescription glasses?
You would look at the cost of that. DVLA, and also if you look at the statistics, it's far more dangerous to be driven by an 18 to 21-year-old than it is to be driven by someone like me. I mean, I know where the rules are. I know you have to go on the right, on the left, and so on and so forth. You know, we're reasonable in, you know...
We take our cars for MOTs, don't we, and we accept that. And I don't think it's unreasonable. I say this with good grace as someone who is prematurely doddery and a terrible driver. You know, young drivers, I think, actually, why not have a computer chip in the car to make sure that they are driving safely too? It's something that I think will make the roads safer. And I don't think that most older drivers would really balk at the idea that they might be impaired.
Let's ask Hilary then. Hilary, let's talk about it from a medical perspective, because, of course, you know, Andy's highlighted a few conditions that might be pertinent to some of the older drivers that we have, and yet Stanley is still more than capable of driving and has got all the facilities and very capable as well. What is the sort of medical position?
Well, one of the things that hasn't been mentioned is experience, and older people are more cautious and they're more experienced than younger drivers, and that's reflected in insurance policy premiums. Younger people have much higher premiums because they have more accidents than older people, by and large. But there is no... the only onus on somebody who's renewing their licence after the age of 70 every 3 years is a voluntary declaration. Now, it's their independence. They don't want to lose their independence with driving, so they say, well, I'll just ignore that little bit of dizziness I get when I look over my shoulder at what's behind me. I won't mention that. I won't mention the fact that my eyesight's deteriorated a bit. I know it has. I won't mention the fact that, you know, I'm beginning to forget, you know, my glasses when I go driving, and a lot of young people do that as well. So the onus is on them, and unfortunately, you know, we cannot rely on people just making a voluntary declaration, because we know it doesn't sieve out those who really shouldn't be on the road.
Go on, Stanley.
I think this is a very, very dangerous line the conversation is going in. Very dangerous indeed. We already have a situation where older people, they do declare if they've got some you know, important medical thing. And the idea that you're going to treat, you know, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds and say you've got to have a whole new test when you get 70 or 80, I think we've got to get real here. 80 is, you know, it's the prime of life.
It's the new 60.
Well, that's true, but, you know, the Royal College of Optometrists will tell you that there are 1 million drivers on the road who would fail the requisite eyesight test for driving.
But are they all
right
over
now.
70? Are they all older?
No, they're not. No,
so
but
it's not
many
really an
are.
age thing, is it?
But as you get older,
thing.
we all know that cataracts are more likely, glaucoma is more likely, peripheral vision deteriorates. And people might not know that their eyesight is deteriorated. It may not be that they're not declaring it. They just don't know that their eyesight is failing. And interestingly, Prince Philip's accident happened about 3:15, I understand, late afternoon, so the sun was very low. And somebody aged 65 will have a 9-second recovery period for glare, as opposed to 2 seconds if you're aged 15. So this changes.
And Dr. Hilary, what what on earth? How is that situation changed by having people having tests and stuff like that? I mean, we're talking a tiny proportion of the whole.
You only have to knock one child down.
And interestingly,
that's the problem.
because you talked about the fact that you're a little bit doddery and you're not the best driver. Would you welcome a test if we introduced retesting earlier on? So for an earlier age than getting up to 60, 65.
50,
and then it became, so let's say 50 or 40, where we're all still capable because everybody gets bad habits and we all start driving a little bit badly and taking... Would that be
You're
something
talking
that
there about driver behaviour, and actually
Yeah.
I think in these days when all cars have computer chips in them anyway, I don't see why your insurance premium shouldn't be affected by the way you drive. I think that's perfectly reasonable, and I hold my hands up as a younger driver and say that, you know, my age group are responsible for bad driving too. But when you focus on...
Statistically responsible for many more accidents
Yeah,
your age group.
yeah.
Yes, but we are seeing a growing consensus from police forces around the country who are saying that there is a disproportionate number of people over 70 who are involved in car accidents.
Just think about...
I do think, I want to mention Polly's Law. There's a campaign for this saying that actually medical professionals should have to, by law,
Is that Polly Toynbee?
No, not Polly Toynbee, no. Polly's Law. Polly was a toddler who was killed by an elderly driver who hadn't declared that he wasn't able to drive properly and he wasn't wearing his glasses. And this campaign is saying that medical professionals should have to say, this person is not capable of driving, I'm going to tell the DVLA. At the moment, that's not in place. I don't think it's draconian, Stanley, to say to you, do you know what? You are more likely to be impaired in your driving
Look at all
than
those
someone who's
people who
40.
live in the country. They live in the country. Their nearest shop is 10 miles away. You know...
I'm very sympathetic, and there are very bad bus services
These people have
these
to
days.
live. They have to live. They don't want a whole lot of
I'm
bureaucracy
not saying
lying
take your
on
driving
them.
licence
they
away.
have-
I'm
but they
saying
have to
let's
be
make
safe.
sure you're safe. What's
But
wrong with that?
I passed my motorbike licence test last summer, and it actually made me a much better driver again. I mean, it's 40 years I've been driving a car, probably longer, but actually doing the test again made me much more aware. There are new road signs, new conditions, and I'm about...
So a little
So maybe
retest
it's
along the way.
not compulsory testing, maybe
it's
it's
not a-
compulsory training and retraining, which would be quite
completely.
good. Send
I think it
somebody
needs
on
to be a
course
physical
to-
and medical test. And I do think there's a point to say as well that if you passed your test 50 years ago, the test you have to pass now to get on the roads is much more difficult.
Why don't you all just go and vote for Mr. Corbyn?
Well, we don't know Mr. Corbyn's opinion on this, but he might say, as a man who's going to be an older driver himself in a few years' time, that he's perfectly happy to take another test.